What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I'm back with another album review for you guys. Now, real quick, apologies for no Crisian review. I just got so tired after a couple days of work, and I just thought I just didn't have the energy to do it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add Crisian and a couple of other albums to this week's up-and-coming Under the Radar episode, just to kind of make it up to you guys. So there's your update on that. But enough of that. We're here to talk about a big one that came out on the weekend of August 5th, and that is the latest offering from Viking melodic death metal masters Amon Amarth, the Great Heathen Army. Don't think I need to go into a history lesson about Amon Amarth. I think everybody who's watching this knows who they are. I talked about their album Yom's Viking when it came out 6 years ago. Didn't really check out Berserker too much because I wasn't too sold on that album because it just did not really sound like an Amon Amarth album, to me at least. So how does this album fare in comparison? Well, we get things started on a huge note with Get in the Ring, which was one of the big singles of the album, and one of the best music videos I ever seen, featuring former WWE superstar Eric Rowan, now known as Eric Redbeard, who's a legit metalhead, by the way. Yeah, and the song itself, it starts off with this epic melodic riff to build up a mood that we're getting ready to fight. And that riff changes into almost like a melodic bolt thrower riff. And you're going to hear me say bolt thrower a lot on here because, to me, this album almost feels like what would happen if Bolt Thrower was a melodic death metal band. But this whole track really carries that vibe. The verses carry this sweet, awesome gallop while the main riff is going. Great, epic melodic guitars in the background of those riffs. The choruses truly feel something special as they get you pumped up and ready to just go to battle and just want to kill somebody. And the lead work we get on here has definitely more emphasis on atmosphere and feeling than anything else. So right out of the gate, badass song to kickstart this album. Then we get into the title track, The Great Heathen Army, starting off with like this groovy, old school death metal riff similar to like Cannibal Corpse, which was really cool to hear. And that riff continues through the verses while you get these little melodic progressions in the background. The pre-choruses chug along quite well, and those chugs continue even through the choruses, and the breakdown groove on the bridge also has some cool atmospheric moments leading into the final chorus while you get some cool melodic guitar lines to bring the song to a close. Hadron, probably the darkest sounding song on the album, and definitely the one song that kind of feels like a continuation on what they were doing on the Berserker. Like, it's tuned down to like B flat on this track, which, like I said, I'm kind of picky on bands who tune that low and do it right. This song does a really cool job at like maintaining melody and epic quality, and it starts off with this like almost power metal type riff with some cool drum work, and then the riff gets heavier and more chunky, kind of like a dark mid-tempo Accept riff, and that carries over into the verses while some cool atmospheric melodies are being built. The choruses get almost somber with those melodies, and the bridge even kind of has a bit of a folk vibe with the way the guitars are being performed. It's almost like you could have put on like a fiddle or something like that, and it would have fit perfectly with this track. And it also kind of brings in a little bit of an uplifting quality to it. And then that opening riff returns to build to the final choruses of the song. Odin Owns You All starts off with another chunky, heavy riff to bring back those Bolt Thrower and Cannibal Corpse vibes. The verses continue that brutality forward with the riff and the drums. The choruses get quite groovy, and it's infectious, and I love it. And following the first chorus, we get a wonderful atmospheric quick lead that comes in to just say, hey, we're gonna put in a lead here, and you're gonna love it, and I did love it. After chorus number 2, more cool lead work, and this time you get harmonized lead work and like lead trade-offs between Olivi and Johan Soderberg, just going all over the place on the guitar, before the best breakdown, I will say, of the entire album comes in. It is heavy, it is groove city, riff city, whatever you want to call it. And then you even get a third lead section coming up at the very end, but it's more atmospheric once again. So this song was loaded with great lead work on the guitars. Then we get to Find a Way or Make One, cool, almost anthemic riff right out of the gate to say, hey, we stand together and fight the battles that need to be fought. The verses and the pre-choruses keep that riff going, but with an uplifting feel to it. The choruses bring in more of those like power metal-esque melodies that just soar through the cut of the mix. Cool bass flourish even pops up afterwards. And then we get another great tasty lead section that has definitely more classic metal influence and almost like an Iron Maiden vibe with those harmonies, which was really sweet to hear. Dawn of Norsemen, cool like melodic triplet riff comes in to start us off, and that triplet feel continues into an early lead section prior to the verses coming in. Then the verses come in with some melodic tremolo riffs and cool double bass patterns. Another melodic line shows up to kind of carry us through the choruses and prior to verse number 2, and those lead changes are really beautifully executed. Wonderful acoustic guitars even show up on the bridge, and it gives off a bit of an Opeth vibe before another wonderful lead section comes in prior to a huge roar from Johan Hegg and another cool breakdown. Now, one of the best songs of the album is next, and that's Saxons and Vikings. Sweet drums leading to a cool riff that has a bit of a Judas Priest vibe to it. The verses have these cool build-up moments followed by wild double bass and epic guitars. The choruses keep that intensity going, but amping up the epic qualities. And we even get a guest vocal spot on here from the one and only Biff Byford from Saxon, who comes in to sing the second verse and the second chorus and does a great job matching up to what Amon Amarth is doing musically. And then even in the bridge, you get these cool vocal trade-offs between Johan and Biff. You get the angelic side with Biff and the demonic side with Johan, and they work together so well. And then we get an awesome trade-off lead section with both Paul Quinn and Doug Scarrett from Saxon as well. And they do these leads so wonderfully well. They trade off each other masterfully throughout this whole entire lead section. And then in the final chorus, you get a cool duet between Johan and Biff, which was badass as hell. Definitely a standout for me of this entire album. Then we get to the penultimate track, Skoggle Rides With Me. Chugging riff, but with melodic progressions to start us off here, but with some really groovy drums. The verses keep that riff going, but it has some more tremolo riffs going on, as well as double bass drums cutting through the mix. And then the choruses kind of brings in back a little bit more of the somber atmosphere from a couple of tracks early in the album. And that was especially in the first half of the choruses. The second half of the choruses get really epic, and it was like a cool balance, start off the chorus on a somber note, and you end it on an epic note. And as things slow down after verse number 2, you get more beautiful harmonized lead work. Then the final track and the longest track of the album at 6 minutes, The Serpent's Tail. Darkness brought forth at the beginning before a catchy mid-tempo riff comes in with power, bringing back that bolt thrower feel, but also has a bit of an asphyx feel to it, like a mid-tempo asphyx track, kind of similar to something I heard off of Necrosaurus a little bit. The verses start off with eerie spoken word in the beginning before Johan's roars show up, and throughout it all, it builds beautifully well into the choruses, which stay in that mid-tempo groove. Dark melodies pop up every so often on this track. More beautiful harmonized lead work pops in at a wonderful time. And then the bridge, the final minute of this song, gets really dark and brooding as Johan's voice starts off with the spoken word, and then he gets almost black metal, he's getting more shrieky with his voice at the very end to kind of give off hey, we also like black metal too. So definitely a really cool way to end this whole album off. So forgot to mention the production done by the legend himself, Andy Snape, which I know love-hate relationship with Andy Sneap's production. I love Andy Sneap's production. Yeah, it is a little universal across the board, but it works. I love his style of production. Makes everything clear, doesn't sound overproduced. I love it. Now, really the only things I could really find to complain about is I do wish there could have been a little bit more in the thrash department. Like, you didn't really get at all that many thrashy moments, like with like a Slayer beat or something like that. This album was definitely more groove oriented. Like, you could definitely tell, like, it felt like Amon Amarth was really into their bolt thrower and decided, you know what would happen if bolt thrower played our style of music? That's what it kind of came off as, but that's not a bad thing. It's just, I do wish there could have been a little bit more variation with the tempos. Like, you do get some great triplet moments, awesome grooves, some cool, like, almost black metal double bass work. I do wish there could have been a little bit more of, like, a thrashy approach on certain sections. But we got a pretty cool trade-off on it, and that's with those, like, bolt thrower grooves and kind of bolt thrower-esque riffs with some classic metal flair attached. So overall, I absolutely love this album. I am going to go out on a limb and say that this is the best Amon Amarth album in probably about a decade. Probably since Surtur Rising, I will say. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I think this is a great album. I'm definitely going to pick this one up. There were so many great moments on here. Like, for me, the standout tracks, Get in the Ring, Odin Owns You All, Saxons and Vikings and the Serpent's Tail. I'd say those were the best tracks on the album for me. But really, the whole album is fantastic, if you ask me. I could definitely see myself liking this the more I check it out. Especially that opener, Get in the Ring. That is such a badass tune. But anyways, that's just my thoughts. What are your guys' opinions on The Great Heathen Army by Amon Amarth? Let me know in the comments section below. As far as what will be coming tomorrow, I'm going to be reviewing the new Soulfly album because I've already heard some fantastic things about it. So, and kudos to Max for thanking my boys at the Thralls of Metal in the liner notes too. But anyways, horns high. See you in the next one.
Alright, well, I'm on a secluded island right now. I have no idea where y'all are.
You're just on an island paradise while we're over here fighting for our lives.
We're at the same coordinates I was at
so many
before.
sounds out
Just
there.
killed a
Right?
zombie by
Okay, I'm here. Oh my god!
They were multiplying!
There's so many! What the fuck?
There are so many zombies! What is this? I don't think I've ever seen that many zombies in a
I don't want to be out here
in my
anymore. I've
life.
decided.
Must be
I've decided I don't want to be here. Okay, never mind. I'm not heroic, as it turns out.
Uh-oh, we got a badass.
Okay, well, you know what? It was fun while it lasted.
Oh god, don't give up